coming back to, yeah, that looks cool. What do you think?
Okay, you have to reload that link, Kath. I wasn't listening.
Do you have to reload this too?
Probably.
Where are you waiting? I'm just refreshing.
Yeah, we're going. We got. See my hello? Remember, you have to go down to the chat. You don't have to look at the picture.
But this picture's not moving. Does that matter?
Oh yeah, that's not it. You're gonna have to back out, go to the link again. There you go. That's it. Okay.
Okay. We're good to go.
I'm just
These
going to
lights are
summarize
really
this
bright.
message a little bit.
I think then asked the question, was Paul experiencing grief? Okay, tell me.
Okay.
Say what you want to say.
You all right?
Yeah, the light is just really
Too
bright.
much?
Can you turn it down a little?
I can't turn it down. I turn it off
Do you find
though.
the light really bright?
No, because I
Okay.
used to sit on the camera.
Which one would you like to turn
At least
off?
you're not wearing makeup and it's not like.
Maybe this one?
Okay.
Does it not? Or maybe it's totally fine.
Well, not if it's blinding you. It's not fine.
You don't find
Do
it
you want
really
to switch
bright?
spots?
Try that.
Switch. Okay. I'll be okay. Just come here. Is that better?
Yeah, that might, feel
That might be better.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
so.
that one is brighter for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Saw a meme today.
This a million times.
Guy with the blind. He says, "I'm not blind. I've just seen enough."
That's a nicer angle anyway.
For whom?
Lisa,
Both
look at
of
her.
you.
She looks great. No.
The bright lights are very really show the shine.
That's why we need to
We
make
need
a
powder.
No, we did.
Yeah.
Could you arrange to do that next
Yeah.
week? This way I can't multitask.
Yeah, I think so.
Back at it.
Back at it again, folks. Yeah, we need Olivia to paint this.
Yeah, that would be great. It is cool though.
Oh, Chelsea and Jason,
Hmm.
nice to see you. Well, I guess we can't see them. Nice that you're here. Oh, Sandy's here. Oh, no. Oh, Henrik's getting some wine for us too. Cheers, Henrik and Sandy.
This is just water. It really is.
Vodka. Clear.
That's like Blake Shelton in The Voice. He's always got something in that
He sure does.
cup.
He sure does. He's usually a little bit tipsy.
He's usually, yes.
Not that I've ever seen the show.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
Maybe. Perhaps.
Maybe, perhaps.
Sometimes.
Oh, it used to be a thing at our house. It was, let's watch 5 minutes of The Voice.
Really?
We'd watch one
Yeah.
thing, and then
Yeah.
the next day it'd be one more. And
Henrik doesn't believe it's just water, Tom.
Mm-mm. It's not.
Just put the gin bottle on the table.
Mm.
What is that, gin?
all right, is it time?
7 watching.
Well, we got double subscribers and half the watchers.
Yeah, exactly. 3 subscribers. Who are the subscribers?
I don't know. Can you tell?
Oh,
I'm not-
Howdy. Good to see you all again. Who's that? I can't see.
that
Jason
is
and Chelsea.
Jason
Oh,
and Chelsea, yeah.
they're so loyal. And Sandy and Henrik last
Yeah.
night and again tonight. Mhm,
Both those groups.
mhm.
So, let's give it because there's 2 videos up and it's confusing. Let's give people just a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, because you have to do this.
I don't know what happened.
Let's
but
just
the-
let it reach
the
national
scheduled visu-
television and
We'll wait till we get to 20,000.
everybody can come in. Then we'll
scheduled
start.
one didn't start. when it was supposed to
20,000, maybe
start.
100. We're popular. This is
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah.
Right, Chewy?
It was cute last week on the video. Every now and then, Chewy would come up for a little attention while you were talking.
Oh,
We'd come get some attention.
popular. You're popular in the
It's
crowd.
frozen.
It's frozen.
Try it. Wrong video.
Oh yeah, they're clicking the wrong one. John Gray is watching now.
Oh, another loyal viewer.
I wonder if I can delete that.
Your little
I'm
mini
not
me.
gonna try. So the background's acceptable?
Yeah, it's cool. But we could get Olivia to paint it.
Yeah.
I like the bookshelves better. It's more rustic.
But with the
More-
contrast
more-
with this, it's good.
Steve told me that there's too much clutter in the
Oh,
picture
really?
last week.
Mhm.
I thought
It
we
was
were
a
in, like,
little
library.
Yeah.
distracting when you look.
He said it was distracting. Distracting
Steve-
visuals.
Steve would know. He's the pro.
He actually kind of is.
Where is
He
the
is
pro?
Oh,
Steve?
I think he watches the recording.
He doesn't do live
Maybe only 2 minutes of that.
just to check it all over.
Shall we start?
10 watching now. Double
Okay.
digits, baby.
We're pro.
I could ask you and everybody. I could say, what do you remember about the sermon,
Yeah, that's a
the
good
teaching
question.
on Sunday?
Start it.
Let's start
That's a
with
great
that.
question.
Let's do
Start with
that.
Okay.
Tell me one thing from the teaching. Tell me one thing that hit you or
Yeah.
struck you or made you think or that you can remember at least.
From the teaching on Sunday.
So I'm going to start with you two,
Mm.
since you don't have to type in your answer. You said it was a really good question.
I know. And now I'm like, oh no. Ashley, you go first.
No, I think what struck me the most was how Paul could be considering the people from his current state and where he was at, and remembering them and focusing in on them and loving them in the midst of being in prison.
Yeah.
And what he was remembering, which I think is a reflection of what Jesus remembers about us and how he sees us, which you spoke to later on in your message.
Yeah.
How does he see you? He loves you. He does see you. He knows you. He wants you. He's pleased with you.
Yeah.
And how do we reflect on that in the midst of every circumstance, and in particular our circumstances right now? That's what struck me the most.
You really set the stage well for this.
Come on,
For
Lisa.
tonight.
Top
Oh,
that.
gosh.
No,
This is like
just
putting
talk
me
about
way
it.
too on the spot.
Well, maybe someone will type in a question or a comment and rescue you.
Then you'll be off the hook. No, but why don't we just talk about that, right? Like, because he's in prison. He's in prison. This
Yeah.
is fun. This is like old times.
Yeah, let's do this.
He's in prison. That's what he's dealing with. But the reality is what's top of his mind. And he says, I think of you, I remember you.
And he's not in prison thinking about the church there and the people there and thinking, oh crap, it's all over. It's all done.
I
Here I
didn't
am.
really do it. I'm dying.
I'm in jail. I'm in prison. Who knows what's going to happen to the church at Philippi? There's all sorts of persecution. Things are going on. I'm probably going to die here. Oh, it's over. Instead, he writes to them and says, everything that started good is going to get better. It started good
It's
and
still
it's going to
good.
finish perfect. It's not going to quit before it's done.
But it's still good.
Yeah.
It's still okay. That in between part,
But
right?
that inevitability
Mhm.
that it's going to be, that it's just going to keep growing,
Yeah.
that it's just going to keep happening. So there's an inevitability to the finishing of it.
So Tom and I were talking the other day. I was asking him what some of my flaws are in my thinking, which are multiple.
I don't
Well,
recall
one
this
thing-
question.
You said is, Ashley, there's always a trajectory, which is what you're saying. Paul was saying that, right?
Yeah.
What started?
It's not static.
No.
Where you are kind of isn't happy at the moment. It isn't great, but it is happy too, because it started in love, it's still in love, and it's going to be finished in love. And he that began a good work in you, for you, with you, is going to finish it. He's going to bring it. So there's an inevitability. I was reading one of the things I want to talk about tonight, the contrast between an interminable wait and a terminable wait. I've never heard the expression terminable. We know what interminable is.
Yeah.
Interminable is like it's just never ending. It's never going to happen. It's like his illustration was it's like a couple that want to have kids, that want to conceive, and they're just waiting. It's interminable. They have no expectation of it's ever going to happen. Contrasted to a terminable wait, terminable is there's an end to it. It's actually going to arrive. It's that same couple. They still don't have a kid, but now they've conceived. And so now they are in terminable waiting, which is we know something's happening. We know something good is coming. We know that it's going to be finished. And the Christians live not interminably, but terminably. We live with a realization that it's
Expectation.
happening. It is happening. Something's happening. And it's not just a virus or health or loss of job or whatever. And those things that kind of put us into that mess where just before we started tonight, I don't want to take away your 3 Ps, Ashley, but you got to get that thing of this is never going to change. This is never going to get better. Christians know better. Christians know it is going to change. It is going to get better. And it's already in process.
So I think what you shared even about your day is good, right? Because there was a trajectory of how you can start and how you can see things, but then how it shifts and how it changes, even as you talk it through and what's happening and what's going on.
So
You see
Lisa,
what I'm
tell us
saying?
about the realizations of today.
That I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I spoke with my mom today and my younger sister today about how like there was a lot of things in my life recently because I've battled with different things like depression and stuff like that where I felt like rhythm and routine have become really helpful for me. Things like working out routinely or having my daughter in a preschool program and just doing certain things in a rhythm and a routine in actually a really healthy way have been really good for me. And so I was kind of plugging away and going, this has been really good for me. It's healthy. It's good. It's great. And then I kind of felt like this whole thing happened and it's like God came, just dropped a bomb in my whole routine. And I said, it's like not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like God's this evil guy saying, bam, now try that out. It was more just like, okay, this happened. My routine blew up and I have nothing to hold on to say, okay, this is going to be helpful. There's nothing I can hold on to right now. Not even a sense of like, well, I have this one thing to look forward to. This is going to be really helpful. At least I have this coming up, at least, right? And there's nothing in my week or in my days right now that I go, this is going to be helpful to me. I'm drawing, like, what's that saying? Drawing at straws or trying to find grasping at straws, trying to find something. And so I find myself at a place of going, I have nothing to hold on to except Jesus, which is actually the best place to be at. And it's easy to say that to other people. And I was saying this to my sister and my mom today, and I found myself today getting really stressed again about so many things. And I'm going, but wait a second, I was just talking about this morning and how that's the truth. But I have to come to a place, like you said, Ashley, of moving through going, I'm feeling all of these things. I have nothing to hold on to, but I have Jesus. Do I trust that? and then go through the motions of actually
Mhm.
going there and trusting that and moving through. And I mean, we're gonna go there. We're gonna talk about grief and how that where we go in that. But
I've spent a lot of time with one of my sisters, and don't know if you all know this, tonight at 4:30 around, there was an earthquake. I sat there and I was like,
I did not know this.
I didn't know this.
Ashley said it's on Castanet. There was an
yeah,
earthquake at 4:30.
it's for real. They're gonna rate it now. And
Chime in if you thought there was an earthquake.
Did you feel
at
an
4:30.
earthquake at 4:30?
We'd like to hear from the studio
Around
audience.
there.
I think my house is always rumbling because my
you
kids
were
are
in a
kicking
condo
things.
building. You would have
I
felt
don't.
its
Yeah,
way.
my house is always shaking somehow.
6.5.
6.5.
There
John
it
says.
is. Thank you very
Well, that's
much,
pretty
John.
serious.
What?
Yeah. And
That just blows my mind.
sister yells,
6.5.
and
Sandy said no.
my sister yells, and she walks across the room and stuff, and she says, Ashley, nothing is in control in my life right now, and I don't need this. I need control, at least to know I'm standing on solid ground. And I thought about that and how much I feel like that, and we all feel like that, right?
Yeah.
We can't control everything. Nothing is in control. And Paul's there. What's in control for his life right now? He's under the authority of whatever's going on in prison. He's at their beck and call. There's nothing that's in control. And
Yeah.
yet, how do we go back to what you're even talking about, right? What is the truth? What am I going to believe? What's the trajectory that we're on? What actually is still going to happen, regardless of in this moment and what I feel? And I think when even the earth is literally shaking.
We were talking last week about memorizing, right? And one of the things that helps, and we sang on Sunday Psalm 46 because Chelsea and I both thought, man, this fits so well, like it always would. But in Psalm 46, the psalm says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. And then a little bit further on, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. But he's just picturing, like, when your sister said that, it just struck me what a perfect picture that is of nothing. Like, well, we have nothing. We have no hope. You at least expect that when everything else crumbles, at least where you're standing is going to hold you up. You know, at least if you got a mountain, the mountain's not going to fall into the ocean. And the psalmist says, even if that happens, even if where you're standing, if you got nothing, you have the God of Jacob. The God of Jacob is with us. And to think about that, and to think, to try to open up a chink in the dark dungeon of the coffin that you're lying in, to the light, to the reality that there's a process going on. You're not alone. You're not abandoned. You're not lost. And it's not over. You're in process, and it's going to end perfect. And it's good to just open up a window, open up a pathway to see it's happening. It's inevitable. It's really going to happen. The God of Jacob is really going to help us. So without Jesus, you don't have any windows. You're buried alive. You're in a coffin with no way out. But with Jesus, there's always a reality. There's a hope to the future. There's a hope. And that future may be tomorrow, maybe next year, but it's now because it's already at work. It's already happening.
It's already happening. Yeah. So I think we should talk about this a little bit more.
Give us your 3 Ps.
Well, okay, but I will. But first, what I wanted to say, and something we were talking about at work too, and that I think is really a real reality. You speak to this, Lisa, as well, but I don't want to dwell forever on COVID-19. Like, we got to move past this at some point. However, what it's drawing
next week.
Yeah, next week.
Next week we're out of it.
But what it's showing us is that grief is a real thing.
Yeah.
Grief is real. And grief and depression are different things. But a lot of people are in grief right now. So I think it's important just first of all to acknowledge, what is it that we're actually grieving? Like, what are some of the things? You said your schedule. You're grieving your schedule, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier you want to go to the playground with your kids.
Yeah.
I look out my window and it's roped off, the playground. It's sad. I miss going to a restaurant. If you're hungry, you
totally.
cannot walk into a restaurant. You got to get takeout, whatever it is. They're silly things.
Yeah.
What do you miss?
I'm actually shocked at one of the things I miss. I had never, ever would have thought that I would miss this. Well, I shouldn't say it that way, but one of the things I miss most right now is being able to hug people,
Yeah.
because I'm still talking to people, and people are still, and even maybe more so, they're burdened, they're crying,
Yeah.
it's hard, and you're sharing the gospel, you're sharing Jesus, you're trying to help them,
You
but
can't
you have
touch
to
them.
sit away from them, and
Yeah.
you can't help it. Well, you're helping them, but you can't hug them, and that just feels wrong. It just
Yeah.
feels, and I'm a super um interior directed person, right? I'm an
And
introvert,
emotional.
and
Yeah.
I'm not emotional ever, but I never would have thought that I would miss that so much. I miss that.
No, Henrik dropped off something for a church, right? And then I was like, oh, can't even hug him. Can't do this. You
Yeah.
can't do that. You feel really confined by that, for sure.
Even when I'm in the grocery store, you feel like everybody is like
Keeping their distance.
everybody's like afraid of each other. I don't like that feeling.
Like
I
you're a
miss-
leper or
Yeah,
something.
and equally, mutually, everybody. It feels like everyone's kind of where generally everyone would be more like, "Hey, how's it going?" and kind of you just feel like everybody's wants to stay away from you, which is a
Mhm.
really I grieve that a lot. I grieve feeling even with my kids, they always want to run up and like grab other
Mm.
kids and say hi,
Mhm.
and you feel like you have to be like don't touch the. And it's such a weird. It's kind of like what you said, Tom. Trying to not be physical with people, not be. That's such a strange
Yeah.
thing. It's yeah.
But I think people are missing other things. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
Sandy said the same
talking-
thing. She said,
yeah, Sandy said that,
About
and
the
chime
church
in
next
if you
door.
think other things. It's sad. Like, a lot of people, I remember the last
Mhm.
flight I took, there was a mother next to me with her son, and she had two other kids a couple rows up. They were going on their first trip ever as a family. And she would have gotten a day in and sent home. And the little boy was ecstatic about going to Mexico. And she said she saved all their money. And she'd been planning this to do everything possible to make that trip happen. And that's the story of a lot of people. A lot of people had trips planned or loved ones. I think Luke was supposed to come up and Anna. And
Yeah.
people that we love and that we want to see and we want to be in contact with, and we just can't see them.
Well, Lori couldn't even do her mom's funeral.
Yeah, or
She
weddings.
had to
I heard
cancel
about
that.
2 weddings that were canceled
Yeah.
today. Those
That's
are
got to be
I
hard.
know.
those
like-
are sad
I know.
And
things.
not to be able to do a funeral. A wedding, you can say we'll do it later, or we'll get married. Right now you can have 5 at your wedding. That's
Yeah.
the rule right now. So we'll get a Fish and Ashley and a best man and a best woman, and we'll do it.
Bride and
And
groom.
then we'll have a real wedding, or not a real wedding, but a full wedding later when we can. But a funeral, like, I guess you can do it later, but you want
It's really hard.
A pregnancy. You can't even all be in the room, right? Like there's things like that right now. And those are things to be
that's Candace and Adam were talking about that. Just like, who do you bring in the circle?
Yeah.
yeah. You can't have people to welcome in your new child.
Even
all
for
around
Candace
you.
right now, I can imagine it'd be very isolating for her because she has to be careful, and yet it's the last little bit of a pregnancy, and it's just hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
So
Mm.
I just want to say, like, I think it's important to grieve these things, and even something simple as call them out with somebody that you love. Tell them, this is really hard for me. I miss this. This is what I'm longing for. What am I yearning for? Like, what's inside of me to actually say those things? But there's a difference between grieving something and becoming depressed over something or living in despair over something. So, grief is often just the things that we miss, the things that we long for, the things that we are wishing for. Depression moves into more I take things personally. If I had done this, this wouldn't be happening to me. Or we develop like suicidal ideation or things like, you know, this is never going to get better. This is how my life is, I'm going to live for the rest of my life, which is actually very different. But if we don't actually take grief and work through it and acknowledge it and work through the emotions and the way that it can, how it morphs and changes through sadness, sometimes anger, different feelings like that, it can turn into something like depression, which is all I'm trying to acknowledge. They're two different things, but one can lead into something else. What do you want to
Well,
say to
just
that?
no, I just wanted to talk to me like I don't know what suicidal ideation is.
I want my life to end.
Yeah. I just think that might be a word
The
that
world's
people,
never going to get better. It would be better. It's more actually personal. It would be better if I'm not here. Everybody, and when you're living with people and you're in tight quarters and circumstances are really hard, you start to sometimes go down that path. If I just wasn't here,
was it you or you that was talking about China today?
I was.
You
yeah.
were
Yeah.
that. Oh, you were. Yeah, you saw a psychologist on TV
Mm-hmm.
who was talking about the divorce rate in China.
Spiked.
Now that they're
It's
coming
high.
out of
Coming out of
it,
isolation. Yeah.
it's like, okay,
The divorce
we're
rate
out
really
now.
high.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I want to say. That's what I want to caution. Like, we have to differentiate between the two. Grief is okay. That's
Yeah.
why we need to acknowledge it and work through it. And depression, a lot of us live with depression. I know I'm a person that has lived with depression in my life. You've experienced depression. I think you don't mind if I say that too.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But those two things, morphing between the two is different. And what I kind of wanted to say for the rest of this, whatever time we have, is there's tools to actually help us to deal with the grief, to not move into a place of despair. And I don't really think that's where, I know that's not where Jesus wants us to go.
And can I say something with that too, Ash?
Mhm.
When you were saying that, I think with depression, when you're in depression, you start to build stories and narratives. You start to
They're personalized.
You make stories, and then you make stories about other people, and you look at other people, and you make stories about them and yourself, and you build all these stories. With grief, what you're saying is more you acknowledge it, and you almost stop it, and then you go, okay, now where do I go from here?
Where do I go? And I move
how
through
do I
the
move?
emotions.
Yeah, and how do I move to? And like we said today, even going like, okay, do I trust Jesus in this? How do I move? Whereas depression, you almost, especially when I've been in bouts of depression, you just sit there and you build all these stories, and the stories have, didn't we say like they have children or whatever? Like you just breed more and more children. The stories have more stories, and those stories have more stories, and they just keep rolling. Whereas with grief, it's almost like the grief is there, you acknowledge it,
and you work through it.
and you work through it, but you almost acknowledge, and the acknowledging is almost where it ends almost.
Starts to break.
But it's like then you move, right?
Yeah.
Move to something else.
Yeah, like your point is not to grieve. If you're not grieving right now, I almost want to say, are you seeing what's going on in the world in some capacity? But if you're working through it, it doesn't go to that darker place, that's where, like you're saying, Lisa, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So I was telling you this, and cut me off at any point. But one of the things I read about a woman who is deep in grief, I think she's currently still the COO of Facebook, but she was talking about after her husband just dropped dead, that she noticed 3 things that are patterns of grief, and you can see in depression as well. And the 3 things are pervasiveness, permanence, and personal. And it's the direction that you take your thoughts. And so permanence is, this is never going to get better. I think that's something we have to watch out for in our thinking. Even with our children, this is never going to be better. This is always going to be the same. We're never going to be happy again. We're never going to be able to go to the park again. Whatever it is, if it's
Yeah.
small or big.
So
What are
true.
those statements of permanence that we're saying that we need to reframe them? Because it's not actually the truth, and it doesn't actually matter.
This is never going to end.
That's what people say. And we say it in these periods, and we say it in other
Yeah.
points.
And we especially feel that because going into this virus thing, we thought this is going to be 2 months or 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
And now it's looking like 2 months to 4 months, or maybe 4 years, and so you hear that and you think, this is it. It's over. It's never going to
My
end.
life is never going to go back to normal.
And the answer to that isn't, no, everything in the circumstances are going to change. The answer is you have to find a way out. You're still in those circumstances, but your heart, your hope has a way out. You're not permanently trapped by the
Mm.
circumstance. It doesn't have to change. Your hope changes.
Yeah.
You like, there's some sort of glitch in heaven and it can't work anymore. And this is just going to go on with that. God's okay. God's got this, and we can relax, and then we can wait, and believe that there's something in process, and our hope is still alive.
I think this is really important with teenagers too.
It's interesting because Sandy
Sandy just said that.
Yeah, what did she
she's thinking
say?
of
Yeah.
she's thinking of her students, particularly teenagers who come from difficult
That's
home
online.
life, and how hard this must be, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
she works
Thanks.
with a lot of
I need the
different
rest of
students.
that.
Her and Henrik do, right, with kids and who might be in a difficult home life, and now they're home, and
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
or what you just said too, like if you start to think I'm never going to see my friends again.
Yeah,
Like
she said
little
school
like
is a safe
small
haven for
things
many.
like that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's that whole it's permanent, it's never changing, and it's not adopting a way of hope.
I find myself doing that lots. I'm sure so many people do. Just little thoughts like that. Like these days, this is going to be like this all the time now. And it's not, but yet you do that,
Yeah.
right?
What if it were in the sense of you're in prison,
Well,
you're with Paul,
Yeah.
and you're in prison, and you're going to die there,
or Jeremiah,
right?
when they're sending people into exile and God's saying you're actually going to go live in exile.
The cool thing there is that God told him this isn't forever. This is going to be for life. It's 70 years, but I'm going to bring you
what
back.
are you saying if you actually are then, like Paul?
Yeah, because Paul is in prison, and he actually isn't going to get out. He actually is going to die there.
Right.
He never does. The letter he writes to the Philippians, he writes from prison. He never leaves.
Yeah.
But his hope is alive, and his Savior is alive, and the process of love that captured him and captured Philippi is still at work. And then he can write on, and he can talk about, what's happening is happening to the furtherance of the gospel. And he says, the amazing thing is, we're going to go into this in Philippi, but in Philippians, but he says, the amazing thing is everyone thinks I'm in prison, but the reality is I got a whole prison full of guards that have to listen to me preach now. And the whole palace guard is getting the gospel. In other words, it's not the circumstances that need to change.
Yeah.
It's the realization that God is in it. And what can God do in this?
What are we
that's
rehearsing?
hard because, as
Yeah.
Sandy points out, a teenager home that may be an abusive home,
Yeah.
and they don't have refuge, they don't have safety, and the circumstance does need to change. But the help and the hope begins with Jesus.
Mhm.
Begins there.
On a different level, not to do with COVID-19, but one of the hardest things for us in the work that I do is like we look in South Sudan and we look at the refugee camps and we look at these children that are living there, and we actually know their circumstance is never going to change. And what's the greatest thing we can bring to these kids? We have to help them learn about who they are and what their identity really is and where their hope lies in the midst of living there until they die. And it's
I
heartbreaking.
think this is important. I think this is what you're trying to say, Ashley, but I feel like sometimes where we are with COVID and where we are in things, poverty, joblessness, bad health, whatever, we feel like what I most just need is for you to tell me this isn't forever. This is like, I just need to know COVID is only going to last 6 months.
Mhm.
I don't want it to go 6 months. I was hoping it would go 6 weeks, but at least it is going to get over, right? Right? It is going to get over, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get
And
better.
that's actually not our greatest hope. Our greatest hope is that God is at process and there's love to work and there's things to uncover. You said that this is showing up things in your heart that's going to
So much.
give you a greater relationship, a better and happier, more joyful relationship
Yeah.
with God in the process. So
Yeah.
coming back to your P's just for a second, but we talked about grief. Let's not forget to talk about joy. I'm sure you were headed there.
I want to go there. I want to talk about the two other ones
Yep.
fast. The other one is pervasiveness, where we think this takes over everything else. So it starts to stop our joy because it's like, because of the reality we're living in, we can't be happy at all.
Yeah.
Or because this isn't going to
Like, what's
change,
an example of like how you
because this isn't going to change, everything is bad. Because I can't take my kids out, because I can't go do this, because I can't do that,
the whole day
nothing is
ruined.
good.
The whole day is ruined.
Not the whole day. We even draw it out even longer. Everything's ruined, Lisa.
Okay.
Life is ruined.
Life is ruined. Okay.
Everything. And you think about that in the context of a marriage or a
Right.
wedding.
Marriage
Right?
is ruined.
And that's where we go. Marriage or no marriage. I can't have a wedding. I can't invite my people. I can't have a celebration. My whole life is ended. And we do this in small ways. I start to think
Yeah.
about it in my own life. We let it color everything. Or we wake up and something goes bad and we say, if only this wasn't my circumstance, this wouldn't be happening. And now my day is ruined.
Mhm.
And it just bleeds. And it moves. Oh, my kid isn't happy. My kid's never going to be happy.
So it's like
Yeah.
this tragedy becomes the most important reality, something more powerful than your hope in a wedding, your hope in a trip to Mexico, your hope in the end of COVID.
No happiness, whatever it is.
There's something more powerful, and that there's a relationship, there is love, there is a salvation, there is a restoration, there is rescue.
And
That's more powerful than that.
it's more powerful. And also this, Tom, and I think you've taught this a lot. How do we live in the tension of things? How can this be horrible? Because it's not really great and it's not really delightful. And how can we have joy? How can we have love? How can I still operate in my household? That's what I think about too. How can my days right now are killing me? Like, it's hours and hours and hours on screen with people are afraid and they don't know what to do. But how can I hold that and hold joy and crack a joke and realize this isn't the whole story, what we're feeling right here?
And we were commenting earlier, Lisa, one of my earliest memories of you, I remember we were doing a Mercado or something like that. We were down
Yeah.
at City Park,
Yeah, we were.
and I had taught something about joy is for now. And you were just like, I remember you standing there on the step, looking up and saying, "Are you kidding me?"
totally
You
remember
actually
that.
said that.
I
You said,
know.
"Are you kidding me? How
I
can
know.
joy be for now? Can it
know.
really be?" And that was one of my earliest memories of you. And the reality is, it's been joy, and it's been awful and hard and difficult, but you seem to be, to me,
Happy.
joy. Ask
Yeah.
Kathy and I, when we talk about, well, either of you two or any, probably all of you, but you're just joy. That's our joy, but I think you've known that too.
Yeah.
So there's something more potent, isn't there? More powerful
Yeah.
that pervades our life.
The last thing is this.
Yeah.
We start to take things personally. If only I would have done this. And I thought this yesterday when I looked at my bank account. Only I would have saved more money. If only I wouldn't have gone on that last trip because I deviated off course and did this and would have saved that money. if only I would have put that money not into those RSPs, because they're not building money right now. If only take away money, right?
Yeah.
If only whatever. And we say that and we absorb it ourselves, going, I should have done this differently. I should have prepared for this more.
I failed.
I failed. I'm a failure. And that's where it goes down that path. I didn't prepare for this. We joke about it. I didn't buy enough toilet paper. I haven't done enough of this. No, but we do
I
it.
should have listened to my financial advisor and had 5
Mhm.
years ready for not having a job, because right now it's looking like I'm not going to have that kind of thing. But I blew it. I messed up.
Yeah, someone's writing in something.
Someone's- yeah.
But I
Oh,
just,
yeah, John says, all joy reminds. It is never a possession, always a desire for something longer ago or further away or still about to be. C.S. Lewis.
John, is that perhaps from Weight of Glory the best article that's ever been written in all time, in all of life ever?
yes, it is. But honestly, that's actually, or if only I wouldn't have been careless, and we get mad at ourselves, right? Or if only you in the household, if only you would have done this.
So what do you do when you were like looking at your bank account stuff? Like, what do you specifically do when you're sitting there going, oh, I should have done this with my money or that?
I have a
Where do you
question.
go?
If you would have lined everything in the most perfect way, how would it change today?
Is that what you ask yourself?
Actually, it doesn't change anything.
No.
Some people have more money.
Oh,
Some people
I was gonna
don't,
say-
though. It doesn't actually, like, you actually
Yeah.
can't control the stock market. You can't control
No.
all of these things that are happening.
No.
It's honestly, it's completely irrelevant right now.
but what if I had a 5-year cushion?
Great. But what about after 5 years? What are you going to do?
COVID's not going to last 5 years, is it? But that's the thing.
Yeah.
But
It's going to be something.
The aftermath.
Money will
there's-
fail me.
Yeah, that's actually the thing. Money right now is failing people. It's like a time when you have money and it doesn't really. Are you going to buy nice new clothes? Are you going out? Are you buying this? Are you buying that? It doesn't really actually create any kind of comfort right now. If you're dying in the hospital, Tom, what are you going to get? Throw pillows
I did
on your
read this
hospital
week.
bed?
I read this week for poor people who can't get tested, that if you really want to get tested, you just cough in a rich person's face and wait for their test results to come back.
Oh my goodness. That's
I thought that was
shocking.
But actually, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
we want to blame ourselves.
Yes.
And that leads down a different pathway as well. And it's actually not rehearsing the promises of God, because it really, it sounds like I'm not caring in saying this, but it really doesn't matter.
It does sound like you don't care. And the gospel always puts us in this spot where it sounds like we actually don't care, because we don't. We don't care in the same
Mhm.
way
Mhm.
about all the gods, all the powers, all the rescuers. We say, you know what, that rescuer is too small. I'm not going to help you. That was too small. I'm not going to help you. I'm sorry. I can't get upset, because Jesus is way more and there's something greater, and we're called to die. And so if we're dead, then we've lost everything anyway. So let's not care. Let's care about the most. Let's care about
So,
Jesus.
Well, we're on this topic though. It's the same thing in depression. We often tell ourselves, I'm guilty. I should feel ashamed. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. And that keeps us and that holds us in a place that leads us to despair and doesn't give us hope. And it's not actually the truth. And we start to climb out of that when we latch on and we start to believe something that's different. I think you saw this in your life too.
Yeah. Totally.
I can get up every day and I can believe this, or I can believe something else. Right?
Yeah.
And you started to do it. You talked to me about it.
Yeah, and it's often in the place of realizing, and I know my mom wouldn't mind me sharing this, but even in the place of when you're you have nothing still, like I said before, there's nothing to hold on to, but
Mhm.
you go, I'm just going to trust Jesus. I'm going to go there and I'm going to believe him. I'm going to believe his promises and I'm going to trust him. And it's those moments that start to build that foundation.
Mhm. Even if I
Yeah.
don't know what it looks like,
Yeah,
or I feel
it
like I'm
does.
free falling,
Yeah.
I'm going to go there.
Yeah. And
So-
that's where the joy trickles in.
So let's have some of those joy stories.
Yeah, I think we should talk
Yeah.
about what grieves us. And then we should talk about what brings us joy. And with that, what makes us thankful. What are we thankful for? What are we thankful in the midst of this? Right? What else?
No, I actually want our studio audience to chip in with what are some of your joy
Okay,
stories.
so what are our questions? Let's be clear. What are our joy stories?
What are our joy stories? What are we thankful for?
What do we think?
Even in the midst of this.
Yeah.
It seems like there's more clutter, but there's also actually less clutter too. I'm actually really thankful for time at home. I've had one of my sisters with me the past 10 days, and I'm thankful for an opportunity to talk to her. I've actually also seen my family connect in a way that they haven't in many, many years and laugh together.
Because we're kind of being compressed and a lot of things are being broken and a lot of things being taken away from us, which means we're kind of left with only a few things. It's
Mhm.
simpler and it's more real.
Yeah.
We're not wasting so much of our life.
So true.
Maybe if we bring Jesus.
Sandy
into it.
says my quarantine buddy, which I assume is Henrik. Not me,
Could
right,
be your
Sandy?
stuffed animal.
Okay, I don't have my glasses on. And so I looked over to see that, Sandy, and I'm sorry. I thought it was my quarantine body.
My quarantine. You know what? And Sandy, I said this, I was thinking about this today. Like I feel like even for myself, I feel like my marriage has been like strangely enriched in this time, and not without a lot of conversations and a lot of this, but like in a good way. Like we've had so many things we've been talking about and wrestling with and whatever, but in that there's been so much time to talk and work through things. And if we didn't have the gospel, it would be a friggin' disaster, let's be honest.
Mhm.
But because of the gospel and what we have in Jesus, I feel like there's been so much that we've had time to work through and such
Tackle.
yeah, that it's like enriching. So I feel you, Sandy. Oh, I guess I can read it here. Oh, Jason and Chelsea say my
He's joking.
5-year cushion.
He's joking. I know very well he's joking.
Yeah,
No,
he's-
we're
he's
thankful
joking.
because we've
Smile.
seen more of you,
Sandy,
Jason
yeah,
and Chelsea.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's like
I
this has
thought
brought
I've
them
seen
closer.
more of them this week.
It's actually
even.
totally, and even like it's so cool. Like you were saying, Chelsea, like with your willingness to help with a lot of the parents right now that are like with homeschooling and all this, and how do you? I was like, that's so cool.
I
Like
saw
that
it.
you're able to give some help with that, and I just think
I
that's
saw
really
the
awesome.
funniest meme. It was moms before that homeschooled, and they have the little doilies on their head, like they're like the little Mennonites, and then they're like moms now, superheroes that homeschooled. But that's actually really cool. That I love that on Slack. I don't even have kids. I wish I did. And
Yeah.
Chelsea's like, I'll help you. I know how to do this. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like the mountain in Osoyoos has been brought nearer by this.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, it's cool.
Henrik said, I'm thankful for Sandy's quarantine body.
Thank you, Henrik.
John said, I agree with Ashley. Despite all this, keeping in touch with my family has increased.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I look, and we've had a lot of family stuff going on. And we've had 2 family interactions in less than a week. And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa. It's great and fun. And we've laughed together. I'm really thankful for that. Mhm. What else? What else are we thankful
Oh,
for?
Mark and Lauren, this isolation has made me realize how self-absorbed I am.
Yeah, me too.
But a joy for me has been learning instead of asking, am I, ask, is he? Lauren, where did you hear that?
I feel that too. I've seen how
Yeah.
self-absorbed I
Oh,
am.
so much, hey?
Yeah.
And selfish, like just like wanting me time.
Yeah,
Where's
get
the
away.
me time? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't have me time.
There's no me time.
no.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, totally.
That's cool.
One
Big-
of the things I
yeah.
was saying is
cool.
I actually feel like this has made me even more grow to love scripture and rehearse it. And I can't even believe sometimes all I want to do is shut everyone up on our meetings online and just go, let's just read the Bible. Let's rehearse what's actually true right now. Not everything else. Let's say, what's the promises of God? What is he guaranteeing for us? Who are we really? And not even in a way of, I'm going to shove this in your face or anything. It's like, we don't really have anything else, and you got nothing really important to say. And your financial update is actually pretty bad. Or my update is pretty bad. So
Totally.
let's just talk about what Jesus says.
But you know what's so true? You said this earlier before we got on into this live thing. Knowing you, Ashley, for so many years,
Yeah.
that's like a really crazy, weird, cool thing to hear you say. Because I think like if you would have said that, you would have never said that to me 10 years ago. Like, I just want to close off all these discussions and just like rehearse scripture. I would have
No.
like if Ashley would have said this, hey, like
It was
8 years
cheesy.
ago, we would have been like, "Are you kidding?" That would have been the last thing on earth she would have said. Right?
Because it would have felt like it
No,
really
and you would have just
cheesy
been
and
like,
not
"No,
genuine.
thank you. Yeah, this is not real." But I know that's real, and you said that. Even when you said that, I was like, "That's so cool." I can see that even being helpful for me, I need to remember that too.
Now I like love learning Philippians, and I love just like thinking in the day about verses and singing hymns to myself
Mhm.
because it's like, this is really it. Who cares about the rest? So let's join the party. Drop dead. Join the party. Rehearse what's true.
Thank you, theologian
Good
Capon.
Yeah.
I learned today I'm a theologian.
Sandy
really.
said, "Thankful for you three in this talk."
I like this. This is
I like
fun.
our studio audience as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's good.
I do.
Read us something. Bring
Well,
us
why
home.
don't we close with the Psalm 46, the last
Yeah.
verses.
Okay.
Be still.
Mhm.
Remember, I used the illustration of the Israelites at the Red Sea. Be still. Just stand still. Relax. Chill. Breathe.
You don't know.
And know that I am God. Don't know the end of COVID. Don't know the end of your cancer diagnosis. Don't know the end of your job. Don't know the end of your RSP. Know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's in process. It's coming. We wait terminably. I like that.
That's good
The
word.
Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress.
Isn't that awesome?
Let's pray. And God, be with us. Help us to know you're with us. Thank you for that truth. Thank you for that truth when the mountains are giving way.
Mhm.
Thank you for that truth when we don't know what our finances are going to be tomorrow. Thank you for that truth when we don't know where our husband, wife, brother, sister, baby, son, daughter, friend, what it'll be tomorrow. We don't know what it will be like on the front lines with the healthcare. We don't know what it'll be like for church. We don't know what it'll be like for each other. We just don't know, but we know you're God. You are God. You will be exalted. You are greater. You are more. You are more powerful than the most powerful thing that we give permanence and pervasive personal guilt to. You are more. Help us to believe, to be still, to trust, to hope, to know the God of Jacob is for us. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
See you soon.